Alright, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing something that's been requested for quite some time. So shout out to @Griselli from the Discord, who suggested I rework the camera system using a Unity package called Cinemachine, which is what we're going to be doing today. So what this allows us to do is to have the camera smoothly transition from one area to another without using any of these transfer objects. So as you can see here, I have all of my transfer objects turned off, but I can still transition from one scene to the other with this nice smooth camera transition. And I don't have to worry about resizing the camera min and max. In fact, I even on my camera have that camera follow script turned off. I could even remove it now. I don't have to mess around with that anymore. It's so much better. So stick around and let's dive right in. Diving right in, what we're going to do is we're going to use a Unity component called Cinemachine to make a better 2D camera than what we currently have. Cinemachine is not currently a built-in component, but it is a component that's easily downloaded. You don't even have to go to the asset store. If you're using a version of Unity from 2018, I think they introduced this in 2017. There's something called the Package Manager. So if you go to Window, and then choose Package Manager, you'll get this new window, and I'm just going to dock this right next to my, come on now. Alright, well I guess I'm not, nope, there we go. Nope, good lord. Alright, fine, I guess I'm not docking it. So in here you'll see the different packages that you can download. Right now I have it set to all packages. You can have it set to in project, versus built-in packages versus all packages. And you can set this to show preview packages as well. Right now the preview packages are things that they're testing out but they don't feel are ready for 100% production or might have some issues with them. So I'm going to not show the preview packages. So what I want to go do is I want to find Cinemachine and I'm going to install it. Now I'm on a really slow internet connection here, so I'm probably either going to speed up the footage or just skip to when it's installed, because it's probably going to take a hot minute to install it. So I'm going to meet you back here once that's done. Alright, cool. So Cinemachine is now installed. So the main logic behind this is that, and you can see that there's a Cinemachine tab now at the top. The main logic behind using Cinemachine is that you want to have your camera, which is currently in the scene, and we're going to have several virtual cameras. In fact, we're going to have one virtual camera for each room. That way we can keep the camera confined to the boundary of the room polygon collider that we created, which is why it had to be a polygon collider. If it were any other kind of collider, the Cinemachine doesn't like it. But that also allows us to have rooms of odd shapes. If you wanted to have an L-shaped room, you could just make an L-shaped polygon collider and then have your Cinemachine virtual camera be restricted to that. So first thing I'm going to do here, I've got my enemy dungeon room 3. I'm going to make a copy of this. So I'm going to duplicate, and this is going to be room 1, which is right where our character is right now. So this is enemy dungeon room 1. And I'm going to remove the logs and the door from it. So I'll just delete those. And I want to adjust the collider. So I still want this at 0, 0, but I'm going to edit the collider. And I'm just going to pull this all the way down here, all the way down there. And then I'll pull this down, and this down, and then I'll edit it using the actual points. So now I know I have to go out of Edit Collider before I can edit the points. For some reason I thought it was an issue with Unity. Nope, it was a problem with me. So my first point is going to be at 8, 6, negative 8, 6 for my next point, negative 8, negative 6 after that. And then this last one is 8, negative 6. Cool. It's set to be a trigger. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to create a virtual camera that's going to go inside of this room. So to do that, I'm going to have this dungeon enemy highlighted. I'm going to go to Cinemachine. I'm going to create a virtual camera. Actually, I'm going to create a 2D camera. Okay, sorry for that weird cut. So what we want to do here is on our Cinemachine camera, we need something that we're going to follow, which in this case is going to be our player. And then we're going to have to do a few different things here in the inspector to make this work the way we want to. And we're going to have to add another component. So I don't want to do anything under transitions, but under body, this is where you can set a whole bunch of the options. And if I click over to game here, I can see exactly what those options are. So if you'll notice, first of all, my camera is now outside of what I want it to be. So what that has to do with is the, not the camera distance, it's the, whatever it's called, orthographic size. And so my orthographic size automatically changed here. I want to change it back to what it was. And I believe it was 4. Oh, no, I guess I have to do that through the virtual camera. So I'm going to make the virtual camera a child of the dungeon so I know where it is. And then where is the orthographic size? I'm probably missing it. It's probably just right here. Oh, there it is. Orthographic size. Set that to, well, no, 4 is too small. Let's do 8. Oh, that's why. I do want it to be 4. It's just that, or was it 4? I don't know. We'll fix that in a second. So it's still awfully set. Now let's talk about what's on our virtual camera here. So you can set what's called a dead zone, and that dead zone is a space in which your camera doesn't follow your character. And I know some people had asked for something like that. So if our camera, or if our player, represented by this yellow dot, moves anywhere inside of this non-blue area, the camera won't automatically follow. It won't be until the yellow dot moves into the blue space. Now you can have it do some look ahead as well. And the red space is where it's going to move especially fast to catch up with the player. So I just made this little box here. I'm not going to end up having any dead zone in the dungeon, but for the overworld it's something that you could actually use. Now I'm going to add another component here, and this is going to be a Cinemachine, what is it called? So I want a Cinemachine target group, collision. Where is it? It's like a restrictor or something. Okay, sorry about that. I just forgot where it was. I thought it was a script I had to add. It's actually under the extensions here. So the extension I want to add is a Cinemachine Confiner, and I want it to be confined 2D, and then the bounding shape is going to come from the room itself that I just created, which is part of the reason why I was recreating all of that. So now I can set my Cinemachine orthographic size to be 8. No, did I have it be 6? Yeah, I had it as 6. That's weird. Alright, so right now it's going to work just fine. If I hit play, I'm not going to see any real change in functionality at this point, but the change in functionality is going to come from what we're going to add in just a moment. So right now we have a null reference exception error. Change activation. Oh, it's because of the room activation, and it didn't know what to do. So on here, I don't need to change activation because I copied it from the enemy room, so I can just remove this signal listener, and I can also remove the dungeon enemy room component as well. Alright, what I am going to do though is I'm going to make a new script here that's going to monitor which, actually I don't need to make a new script at all because I already have the dungeon room script. Alright, cool. So this script is going to monitor which virtual camera we're going to be using. So we're going to have several virtual cameras. In the example of this small dungeon, we have 5 rooms, so we're going to have 5 virtual cameras that we're going to use. So I'm going to go to my scripts, my objects, and I want to go to, actually, game stuff. I want to go to my base room script. And my base room script is going to need to have a reference to a virtual camera, which means I'm going to have to do some work in my overworld and in any other scene that I'm linking to it. But that work I'm doing is going to be worth it because it's going to cause a much more extensible camera to be created. Alright, I'm going to install these updates here. I'll be right back. Alright, so here we are in the room script. So what I want to do first is I want to make a reference to the camera game object, the virtual camera. So I'm going to say public game object. I'm just going to call it virtual camera. My laptop is running very slowly today. Alright, so that's the virtual camera game object. Now what I want to do, now that I have a reference to it, is I want to make it active when the player enters the room and make it inactive when the player exits the room. So if other compare tag player and other dot is and not is triggered, then I'm going to do virtual camera dot set active true, and then I'm going to set it false. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to set it false when I leave the room. Now, since I made a branch off of this that overrode this just last video, I'm going to have to change that. So if I go to my dungeon enemy script, or dungeon enemy room script, I just need to add that as part of what we're doing here. So virtual camera set active true, and then when we exit, virtual camera set active false, so that that third room can act like it's supposed to. Alright, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back into Unity, and I've got my setup for room 1. I could even take my key door. I'm going to make it a child of room 1 so that it's part of that. So as soon as Unity's done thinking here. Alright, I'm going to move my tile palette out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to grab my key door. I'm going to make that a child of dungeon enemy room 1. And since this is set at 0, 0, that doesn't change its transform at all. I'm also going to take this dungeon enemy room 1, I'm going to duplicate it to make dungeon enemy room 2. And I'm going to remove the key door from it, and I'm also going to edit the collider. So for the collider here, and I'm on room 2, I'm just going to eyeball this really quickly and then I'll fix it in just a second. I'm just going to move this up, and then here, and oop, did not mean to do that, did not mean to make another point. So grab this one. Grr. I'm just going to edit the points now. Alright, so my first one's going to be 8, 17, and then negative 8. Actually, should it be 17 or 18? Yeah, 18's too high, so it should be 17. So negative 8, 17. It's still, I don't know, that looks too low. And then this one's going to be negative 8, 6. Cool. And then this last one is going to be 8, 6. Alright. I want to look at my room 3 really quickly here and see what my points are for that. So they're at 18, so this one should be at 18 too. So points 18, 18. There we go. Alright, now what I want to do is set up that virtual camera. So in my virtual camera here, I'm going to change from having dungeon enemy room 1 to having dungeon enemy room 2 be the confining. My orthographic size is already set up. And what else do I need to do? I feel like there was something else. Oh, right, I need to attach that script to both of these. So these are both going to get just a dungeon room script. So dungeon room instead of dungeon enemy room, and then the virtual camera is virtual camera 1, and I'm going to call this virtual camera 2 so that I'm clear between the two of them. So this one's going to get a dungeon room script, and the virtual camera is virtual camera 2. Alright, cool. So I'm going to hit play, and we're going to test this out here. So it's going to think for a second. Cool. Alright, so now, if we take a look here, I have my dungeon enemy room 2, and my virtual camera is currently the active one. So I need to make sure that they're both inactive by default, so that way I don't have two virtual cameras active at once. So I'm going to turn off both of these at once, but then when I enter the scene, since I'm entering the trigger area, it should turn that camera back on. Let's make sure. Okay, cool. So Dungeon Room 1, VCam 1 is on. So I'm going to go up to the door here. Let's open it. And then there we go. We've got it transition into Dungeon Room 2. Now if I go back down the other way, I'll get a transition to Dungeon Room 1. Now it's not super fast. You can play with that by, let's see here. Is it the dampening that does it? I thought there was maybe a tooltip here for, yeah. Okay, wait, hold up. There was a tooltip. There we go. How aggressively the camera tries to maintain the offset in the x-axis. Small numbers are more responsive, rapidly translating the camera. So let's make this like 0.1 on both x and y. 0.1, 0.1. So let's try that now, because it wasn't very aggressive in trying to get to the player. So let's go up, open the door. Let's actually make that red area there, let's make that bigger, and let's do that for both of our virtual cameras here, because I think it's the red area that's the issue. So I'm going to make this active, and I'm going to go to my game so I can see what I'm doing, and I want to screen X. So soft zone. I want to make my soft zone smaller. So soft zone super small. And then I'm actually going to make my dead zone just 0, and I'll make my soft zone 0 too for this example, because I want it to like snap pretty aggressively. And I'm going to do the same thing for my virtual camera too. So my soft zone and my dead zone. Cool. All right, so let's try this again here. Let's hit play. All right, so if I go up here, open the door, it still isn't being super aggressive. What does the bias do? It's got tooltips, but they don't want to activate. Come on now. Okay, so sorry for that word cut. So the issue that we're having is right now if I go into my next room, it kind of very slowly goes up, but my player can still like move around and stuff, and it's not ideal. I mean, it's nice that it's nice and slow, but we would want it to be a bit snappier. So to fix that, it's not any of the settings on the virtual camera. Instead, whenever you create a virtual camera, Unity will automatically also add something called a Cinemachine brain to the main camera. So the virtual camera is just a way to move around the main camera. So you can have as many virtual cameras in a scene as you want. In fact, you could have a virtual camera with different post-processing effects for if your character's low on health. You can have situations where you might want to zoom in, and so you can have different virtual cameras for each of those. The virtual camera exists just to move the main camera around. So if we go to our main camera, you can see that there was something added to it called the Cinemachine brain. Now I can also deactivate the camera movement script here. I don't need to use that at all anymore. Instead, if I go to my Cinemachine brain, I'm going to go down to where it says default blend. I want to leave this ease in and ease out because it's going to be a nice smooth in and out, but instead of being 2 seconds, I'm going to put this down significantly smaller. I'm going to do 0.5 seconds. And it's going to be significantly zippier. Now, because I'm no longer using that camera movement script, I no longer have to worry about resizing my camera's boundaries based on the room that I'm in. Instead, I'm just using the virtual cameras here. See that? Isn't that nice? It's so much better. This is ridiculously better. This is good. So yeah, What we would have to do at this point now is you need to go through, and all of your rooms need to have a room object that has a room script or something that inherits from room. You need to have the boundaries set to the room, and then you need to know what virtual camera it needs to have. We need to do something similar to the overworld, and I'll cover that next episode. But yeah, there we go. Shout out to at Griselli from the Discord. They're the one who really kind of brought it up a whole bunch of times whenever anybody asked questions about making the camera work better. And I had never used Cinemachine before, so I was kind of like not super sold on it. So they're the ones who really convinced me that Cinemachine was just an amazing tool, and it really is. Thank you so much for pointing out how we can do this. It's going to make everything better. We don't have to worry about calculating our room sizes and stuff. We can even get rid of the player movement objects that we have. So like these transfer objects, we can just take these, all of them, and just not even turn them on. And now, even with those off, everything should work the way we would expect it to. So let's make sure. I didn't actually test this ahead of time, so. Oh, okay, cool. What happened there? All right, so my player went where they were supposed to. Oh, the virtual camera in room 2 didn't turn on because I have all of room 2 off. That's why. Okay, so it should have worked. Let's try this again. So for some reason I disabled the entire game object instead of just the camera. That's weird. I do weird things sometimes. All right, so if we hit play here, we have all of our transfer objects are turned off. And if they're not, I'll turn them off right now. So transfer objects, you're all off. Okay, no more transfer objects. So I'm going to go up here, I'll open the door, and there we go. A nice, neat transition. And same thing in the other direction. Oh man, that is so much nicer. That is really, really good. So again, shout out to at Griselli on the Discord. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask him in the comments down below. This is going to require quite a bit of restructuring our project, but in general, it's going to make our project much easier. So thank you very much. You can join my Twitter, or you can find out other awesome tips and tricks pointed out by my members of my Discord by joining my Discord. There's a link to that in the description. And yeah, everybody out there, have yourselves a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving a like, subscribing to the channel, or telling a friend who might be interested. Also, please consider following me on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can earn access to tangible rewards, like early access to videos, backer-only videos and series, polls for future topics, streams, and even individual tutoring sessions. You can find a link to that in the description. And as always, have yourselves a wonderful day.